It's no surprise that countless people are stressed right now. There's a loneliness epidemic, dating absolutely sucks, the economy sucks, just everything seems to suck. There's not a lot of hope, and people are really struggling to figure out what's a meaningful path to pursue for work. To help ease this, people need to pay bills, people need to eat. So what are they doing? How are they navigating this? There's plenty of videos out there talking about college being a scam, and naturally, there's still some people who are wondering if college is the right path for them. It's no new conversation to talk about college and say, is it worth it or not? But I think the question alone, is college a scam, is incomplete. There's a lot more nuance to it than you might think. And as somebody who literally went to college for years and years, went to graduate school, studied my craft feverishly in an academic and a non-academic setting, I have a little bit more nuanced views than you might think. So I wanted to share that and give a more holistic view on whether or not college may be the right choice for you, specifically for psychology majors. So let's take a quick look at some college major stats. One area that I'm obviously very interested in is the psychology degree. So if we look, psychology is very low on this list at negative $15,644 is the average return on investment. But what's interesting here is that it doesn't specify the exact lane in psychology. So I think it's safe to assume that this is just talking about a general degree in psychology, which I'm presuming to be just a bachelor's in psychology. If you only pursue your bachelor's in psychology, you're most likely setting yourself up for disappointment. It's going to be incredibly difficult to find a job. It's going to be extremely hard to find something that pays super well, and you don't have enough of a specialty to really get a lucrative long-term career. That doesn't mean that possibilities don't exist and that you can't make good money, but it's so much harder and so much more unlikely if you just get that bachelor's. So what I ended up doing is going into a very specialized field in psychology, and I went to graduate school for industrial organizational psychology, which is also known as IO-Psych or business psychology. So as you can see, business is almost at the top of the list with an average ROI of $205,191. Business psychology is considered a STEM career, and it's very technically focused. It's so much more needed these days than it was when I first started, because more and more companies are suffering with their people. Leadership is terrible, engagement's horrible, burnout is awful, AI is taking over, and there's so many people-related issues. So more and more, we need people in the field of business psychology to help solve complex people problems in business settings. Again, this is going to require a graduate degree and a lot more of a specialization, but that's the route in psychology you generally want to go if you want to make more money, have a little bit more safety and stability. But we're going to talk about that as we get into each of these reasons. So let's jump into reasons why you shouldn't go to college specifically. The first reason you would consider not going to college is simply just the debt that you have to take on. College tuition rates have been increasing at a higher rate than inflation for decades now, and the average college graduate has tens of thousands of dollars of student debt. This doesn't seem to be getting easier for people. People literally just want to live. They want to minimize that misery and literally just do a job where they feel valued, respected, where they can have some sense of creativity and appreciation. It doesn't really seem in reach for a lot of people. Paying tens of thousands of dollars for something that's incredibly not guaranteed, unsure, murky, and pretty miserable for a lot of people definitely doesn't seem like a good reason to go to college these days. But to each their own. Some people have the money, a lot of people don't. Some people are comfortable with taking out the loans, other people aren't. There are many people who go to college because they think that that's going to have a big ROI once they finish and get that big shiny degree. And they're very, very disappointed at the end when they see that they're not able to get a job. The jobs that they do get don't pay anywhere near what they thought they would. And a part of this could be that they're not as informed of their careers as they thought. Maybe people haven't done enough research into their field. Maybe they didn't know enough to make an informed decision. Think about it. If you had $50,000, what would you say is a more worthwhile investment in yourself? Would it be buying courses online? Would it be going to an actual university? Would it be taking trips around the world to learn more about yourself and other cultures? There are so many other ways to spend that money that could help you grow, develop, and learn as a person, that could help give you some sort of skills that might be very helpful in organizations, as long as you can solve their problems and you can articulate how you can solve those problems well in an interview and on a resume. What's the problem? Well, some people require those degrees, which we'll get into. But something to consider though, the debt is a really, really big challenge for a ton of people. So for me specifically, my undergrad was about 15K and my graduate program was about 40,000. I was very, very blessed, fortunate, and privileged to be able to stay at home while I was going to school. And I worked for about a year and was able to very easily pay all of that off. Totally acknowledge it's not the case for everybody. And that is totally not even a thought for some people because that option doesn't exist. But maybe there are some options for you that could work out with living situations, staying with your parents that much longer to help give you that stepping stone. It's like the arrow analogy of pulling yourself back a little bit to truly launch forward and excel your career, your finances, all of that. Because I was able to do that, I paid off school very, very quickly, didn't have any debt, quickly got into the 6-figure range and was able to invest and save a ton. So it required a lot of sacrifice in the beginning. And I did a lot of free work. I really, really suffered in the beginning because I wasn't making any money. I was struggling finding work. It was super, super frustrating, but that's what worked for me specifically on my path. The second reason you might want to consider not going to college is to please your parents. This one is a lot more common for Eastern cultures, but more and more there's people out there who are literally going to college just because they want to please their parents, because that's the path that will make their parents happy. That's the thing that will make them proud, that will make you feel worthy. Now, I know there's different opinions on this, and culturally it's very, very ingrained in some families to say, hey, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer. This is your path. This is what you're destined to do. I was part of that. My dad told me always growing up, math and science, that's your field, that's your path. He was an electrical engineer and always told me that I needed to be an engineer, a physicist, or something of that sorts. It wasn't really for me. I was good at math, but I didn't have a passion for it. I didn't love it. When I found IO psychology or business psychology, immediately fell in love and found that there are technical routes to go within the field of psych that can pay a ton of money, be extremely rewarding, and really tap into what I want to do for me in my life. So at the end of the day, you have to think, what's going to make me happy? What's going to help me feel fulfilled? Of course, you don't want to sever ties and ruin things with your family in some cases, but everybody's situation is different. But if that's the only reason you're going to college, it's a horrible idea. You have a massive road of misery, of sadness, of depression, of burnout ahead of you. That's just the reality of it. There are some people where it might work out and, they have a good career, but at what cost? There's so many important questions to ask first before blindly jumping into something simply to just please your parents. It's not easy. It's a very challenging road, but it's something to consider. The next reason to not go to college would be if you're trying to use it to find some sort of purpose or direction in your life. I've heard from literally countless students in the field of psych and out of the field of psych that are literally going to college because they want to figure themselves out. Absolutely terrible idea. There are so many better ways to do that. There are so many things that you can do to help better understand yourself. I'll give you one that's completely for free. You can do in your bedroom. Don't need to go anywhere. What you're going to do is go into the description, click the link on the 50 questions document, download that onto your computer. There's nothing weird, no emails, no signups, none of that crap. What you're going to do is fill it out, go through the whole thing, take as much time as you can, and really thoughtfully answer the questions. There's all sorts of questions on things that tap into your purpose, your values, how you see the world, and how you think people should see you. What you're going to do is fill that document out as detailed as you possibly can. You're going to look through that document and you're going to analyze it. You're going to look for patterns, key themes, things that stick out, common areas that really help you uncover what are your values? What's your core purpose? If you're having trouble with this, you could literally fill out the document, put it into ChatGPT, and ask it those things. What are the patterns that you notice in my responses? What do you think my core values are based on these specific responses? How can I leverage these skills, these strengths, these interests to find a job that makes good money that might be interesting to me? There's plenty of other ways to help uncover your purpose too, like literally go out and date a ton of people and really see what you like and don't like, and go join a club, join a league, play some sports, go to the park, the beach, a local pool, or anything where there's other people doing things that you're interested in. There's online communities, online gaming. You could volunteer somewhere to meet all these different people. There are so many options to explore new things, to just kind of figure yourself out. The next reason you shouldn't go to college is that you just simply don't know what you want to do for your career. This piggybacks off a lot off the previous point, where once you discover your purpose and kind of your core values, you really get a good sense of what your direction is in life and the types of people you want to be around, the person you want to date and be with, what all of that looks like. It's going to really help you hone in on what your specific career path might look like. But if you're going to college to test out a major, it's usually a pretty terrible idea, because you're just completely winging it. It's not an intentional, informed decision a lot of the time. Doesn't mean all the time, but a lot of people just kind of wing it and jump into something, again, to please their parents, to just figure out their major, to find their purpose, to just kind of make something happen for the sake of making something happen. There are so many other ways to figure out what you want to do and what you're really, really good at. You don't have to go to school for years and spend tens of thousands of dollars to just risk it on something that you might actually really hate. One great way to do this for free and help uncover this a little bit further is go on LinkedIn, find people that have jobs that you're thinking about. If you're interested in computer science, find computer scientists, find programmers, find people who are doing things that you're interested in. If you're in the field of psychology, think, what are people doing that I'm interested in? Do you want to be a marriage family therapist? Do you want to be a school counselor? Do you want to be a clinical psychologist, a forensic psychologist, helping solve crimes? Do you want to work in business like I do? Anything and everything. Find those people, search it in the search bar. If you don't know what to search, leverage Google and ChatGPT. There are so many avenues to pursue completely for free. Reach out to these people. Ask them, hey, I'm super interested in blank. Sports psychology, forensic psychology, whatever psychology. And really ask them, how did you get to where you are today? I'd love to hear your story. Anytime at all would be greatly appreciated. Send that message to 20, 50, 100 plus people over the course of X number of months or years. You'd be amazed at what you could learn. So one very off the cuff random solution that worked for me is I did a lot of free work in the beginning. Again, not everyone can do this. It was very specific to what I was doing and where I was at the time. But what I would do is I knew I wanted to do some form of consulting, and I really liked business and I loved people and psychology. So I would go into businesses, local stuff, mom and pop shops, friends, that one uncle that has a thing, and you just talk to them. Hey, here's my textbooks. This is what I do. This is what I'm interested in. Can I help solve this problem? Can I help work on this thing? Whether it be developing leaders, whether it be coaching employees on a certain issue related to people and performance and culture. I designed little interview templates on how to ask questions based on competencies or leadership behaviors. I designed surveys to gather customer feedback to help improve operations and customer perception of the business. I looked at financial data to see where we were losing money and what we could do to help improve the business, from a training standpoint. Are we missing something operationally? Is there something that's wasteful in this process? There's a lot of things that you can do that are totally off the shelf, off the cuff, that kind of help you reframe your approach to looking at your career that could really help push you forward. And so for me, even though I had no freaking clue what I was doing, it really helped get me a little more yeses and build those relationships that gave me just enough of stuff on my resume to build up a little bit to say, hey, I've done some consulting, not saying I'm good at it, not saying it really worked that amazingly well, but it did enough to get me in the door. And that's exactly what I needed to land that very first internship. So for me, it was a game changer doing that free work. And for years after I landed that first official job in that internship, it really did help me get more knowledge, more experience, more perspective. So for many, many years, I continued doing the free work because one, I just enjoyed it and I'm a passionate nerd about my field. But two, it was really cool to build relationships and get some referrals and just hone in my specific craft. The last reason you probably shouldn't go to college is if you're trying to make friends. Now, I think this one should be common sense, hopefully for a lot of people, but you'd actually be surprised at how many people are going to college purely just for the social aspect. They're kind of aimlessly moving through life. They feel like they don't have friends. They don't really feel like they have a place or a circle, or that they need to be surrounded by people who intellectually stimulate them. College is a great place to feel intellectually stimulated at times, but it's not the number one place you should go if you're trying to find this outlet. There are so many ways to meet people. As I mentioned before, go to the beach, go to a local sports club, sign up for a league, play online video games. Anywhere and everywhere, there are Discord channels, so many different WhatsApp groups or Reddit communities or YouTube communities, groups, local communities at your schools that might be taking in people to talk about different jobs, different careers, different hobbies, different interests. There are so many ways to meet people and talk to people in this day and age. You don't need to go to college exclusively if you're just trying to find some new friends to be around. So for me, I was very lucky that I had a lot of hobbies. I have a ton of interests between skating, guitar, martial arts, music, traveling. I had a pretty good group of friends, just people who had a lot of interests in different things. So I was fortunate because I was surrounded by so many different people with so many different skills, hobbies, interests, qualities about them. And I'm very fascinated by people. So when I was around these different groups of friends, I would observe and see, what do these people do that makes them happy? What are these people motivated by? What can I learn from this person, and how can I apply that to my life to make it that much better? And just, are these people that you enjoy? Do you laugh a lot together? Do you share similar values and ideals? And as you get older, this is definitely going to change, but having those social outlets and those circles where I could go to the skate park and bump into people and make friends after showing up so many times, or going to Guitar Center and talking to the guy that has an acoustic that's playing a cool song. Like, you never know where you're going to meet people and where you're going to just bond with other people hanging out there, doing things that you think are interesting. Now let's look at some reasons that you would go to college that would be beneficial for you. The first reason is if you're pursuing a STEM career. If you remember that chart I showed you at the beginning of this video that showed all the different majors and the ROI for each of those, you'll notice that STEM is at the top of that list. So again, to no one's surprise, these types of fields are extremely important. They're extremely necessary. They make a ton of money. And if you really know what you're doing and you're intentional about your choice, I think it's an amazing decision to go to college, because that degree is going to unlock that level of technical skill and give you the credential to show that you pretty much know what you're talking about and you're capable of performing the essential functions of that job that you're applying for. So in this case, business psychology is considered a STEM career. So if you're really interested in business and the number side of things, in industrial psychology, you love people and performance and leadership and culture and all of that stuff, might be a great choice. The second reason you might want to go to college where it would be beneficial is if you truly know what you want to do and a degree is required. I know this one's a little bit more general, but again, thinking back to that example in the beginning of the video where I mentioned a bachelor's degree in psychology is probably a bad idea. It's way too general. It's not going to give you that technical, specific expertise to really separate you from the others applying to those jobs. And it's not honing in on a specific career path. It's way too broad. So if in the field of psychology, you're going to pursue a more advanced graduate degree, you want to go into marriage, family therapy, sports psychology, business psychology, clinical psychology, is a wonderful idea if that's exactly what you want to do. For me, I very much knew what I wanted to do early on because I did a ton of research. I looked up all things IO psychology, or again, business psychology, and knew that I wanted to get into consulting. So referencing back to the free work that I was doing at the beginning, I was networking on LinkedIn. I was showing up to mom and pop shop businesses. I had friends who owned businesses. So I was very, very fortunate that I could literally just talk to them and be like, well, what do you do? Like, how do you make money? How do you pay people? How do you do this specific thing? And really, really thinking critically on how can I apply what I know to help improve their business? What problems can I solve here to help make their lives better? So I knew I wanted to do consulting. I knew I wanted to work with leaders. to help improve those interactions, workplace culture. I've had so many horrible bosses, the worst you could ever imagine. And I've also had some of the best bosses you could imagine. And seeing what that does to your mental health, seeing how that literally changes your life is so unbelievably powerful. And I wanted to emulate that. I wanted to take that other places because my mindset was, if I'm here to create workplaces that are so invigorating, I'm not just creating better workers, I'm creating better people as well. And that directly ties into my mission, my values, my purpose. So again, this is what I wanted to do. I knew it was the thing that I wanted to go into, and it just directly aligned with where I wanted to be. The next reason you would consider going to college, or it would benefit you, is that you have the time, money, and interest to pursue that degree. I know this is a bit more of a niche one, and it's not really going to apply to tons and tons of people because we don't all have the time, the money, the desire, and the clarity. That's a very difficult thing to have, but there are those people out there who they may have that extra time on their hands. They may be available to pursue that degree. They may have the energy and the funds to do so comfortably where it doesn't completely ruin their life and put them into unbelievable amounts of debt. So if you happen to be in that category, I think college can be beneficial to give you some more excitement, interest, learn a little bit more if that's what really, really drives and motivates you. I think it could be a good option where it's not going to completely derail your life. So I have seen it where there are benefits there as well. The final reason you might consider going to college is that your company would pay for it or support it in some sort of way. Again, a little bit more of a niche one, but there are companies out there who will actually pay for school. They will either pay in full or help support you through your college journey. This can be an incredible thing because there's so many people out there who just can't get that initial barrier of entry checked off for them. I've worked for several companies that have offered to pay for schooling, that have offered tuition assistance. There's options out there, even though they may not be super plentiful, they do exist. So maybe it's worth checking out because one job that you might not be super crazy about could be that stepping stone to get you to that dream job that you know is going to be extremely meaningful for you. Okay, so to wrap all of this up and kind of summarize the overall thoughts here, again, I think it's an incomplete question to ask, is college a scam? I think it's much more nuanced than that, and it has to involve a lot of other questions as well. You have to think introspectively. Is this worth it for me because of A, B, C, X, Y, Z? Consider the points that I brought up before on reasons to not go, but also the reasons to go. Your life is very different than mine. You're in a very different situation than me. I was able to do certain things that you couldn't do. You're able to do certain things that I couldn't do. Everybody's situation is going to look a little bit different. So keep that variance in mind. Overall, my final answer to that would be college is worth it if and only if you have very specific ideas in mind on how it's going to help your career. You go into something that's fulfilling to you, that you know can make good money because you've researched the field, you know it's a growing field, it's future proof, you really feel that this is something that's bringing meaning and purpose into your life that you can afford to pay for, or you know you can take out the loans and take care of that thing later. And in the field of psychology, if you pursue that graduate route and you know that this is going to be something that's rewarding for you, that it's a technical field that is fulfilling for you, I think you're going down a good path. And specifically for me, again, I chose the business psych route. So it's been unbelievably fulfilling for me. I've literally never met a business psychologist that didn't enjoy their career. At the very least, most people love their career in this field, but at the very least, people who are just like, yeah, it's a really cool thing. I enjoy it. It's fascinating. So definitely things to consider, but there's all sorts of fields in psychology. So if you're pursuing the advanced degree, I think it can be worth it, but it really is what you put into it. So I went to graduate school with a lot of different people, and some of those people aren't using their degrees today. So you could absolutely argue that that was a bad decision financially, maybe from a timing perspective. They spent all the time, effort, and energy trying to get that degree, but they're not using the degree. So what was the point of that? Why even do it in the first place? You could definitely say that was waste, but maybe they enjoyed it. Maybe they got something else out of it. There's always going to be exceptions to the rules. I know people who went and got, advanced degrees in psychology who ended up in something different, and they started making more money in that other thing than psychology. So there's a lot of different paths to take this, but if you meet those criteria, if you feel like you've gotten a holistic picture of your life and where you want to go, then I think college can be helpful if you really, really know what you're doing. Otherwise, I think there are so many other ways to go that would be a much better use of your time, effort, energy, and your money. Now, thinking of the job landscape as a whole, let's say you pursue or even don't pursue the degree, you're just trying to find a job or figure it all out. We can't all be YouTubers, we can't all be podcasters, or there's a lot of things that people don't want to do. They don't want to be entrepreneurs or some massive fancy leader, some huge company. Some people just want to work and make a decent living and have a job that they don't hate, a job where they feel respected and appreciated. So some general tips, we could literally do a whole video on this separately, but just to shotgun out some general tips, I think once you understand your job and you know generally where you're going, at least speaking from me for the business psychology perspective, if you're starting out in this career, I would say you want to understand the PhD is more for being a professor, teaching at the university level and doing research. You're publishing articles, you're running experiments, you're furthering the field of psychology in IO psychology or business psych if you pursue the PhD. The master's route is more than enough. It's totally fine for a lot of those corporate jobs, those consulting gigs. It definitely will serve you well, and you'll make much more money in the long run if you pursue that route in business psychology. So I would say in business psych, if you're interested in the consulting route and some of the stuff that I do, some fields to consider would be human resources, organizational development, talent management, anything involving people and culture, those really specific roles within HR that focus on solving people-related issues in an organization. So look for the words intern, coordinator, generalist. Those are going to be some of your more entry-level positions that eventually you'll move up into that analyst position, senior and lead analyst, manager, senior manager, director, so on and so forth. There is a lot of different career paths and ways that organizations define this. So if you have any specific questions on that, ask them in the comments and I'd be happy to answer that. So thinking of other ways, once you're looking and applying to jobs, it's incredibly frustrating because the job market is awful. It's not just for psych majors. There's nothing that is inherently wrong with you just by applying to jobs. I know it's incredibly defeating. I've had periods in my career, not so far off and very early in my career as well, where I was searching for jobs for months. I would apply to hundreds, if not, felt like 1,000+ jobs. Custom resumes, all of this, cover letters, reaching out. It sometimes feel like it's the biggest waste of time in the world, but the job market right now is just completely awful for everybody. So just know that as much as you want it to feel personal and feel that you're being attacked and that this is just some horrible system, and it's pretty shitty for a lot of people, and there's no real easy cheat code or hack or tip or trick, but one thing I would say that absolutely will help you stand out is the way that you form your resume. So a lot of people take their resume and they just list responsibilities. I was responsible for training at this company. I was responsible for, the cashier. It's just tasks that you were overseeing, right? What you should do is take each bullet and turn it into the problem that you solved and what the result of your efforts were. So instead, try to be much more specific, add in numbers, metrics, anything at all. So instead of, I was responsible for training, look at that bullet and say, successfully trained over 15 employees on daily operations, resulting in X% faster onboarding time, or, X% in savings. Like, what numerical thing did you change for the company? What value did you add? Did you make a process faster? Did you cut money somewhere? Did you increase revenue? Did you shift a way that something was done to improve morale? Did you improve employee engagement or customer satisfaction scores? Did you make something, in a different way that was really creative and interesting to your customers that they appreciated, that they made comments on? There are so many things that you can comment on, but if there's some sort of value, some sort of numerical thing that is the result, talk about that. bring that up. Each bullet should represent one thing. What was the problem? What were your contributions? And what was the result of that? I think doing that is going to really help, but also taking keywords from the applications themselves. So look at the job descriptions, pull out keywords. If you don't know what those keywords are, copy the job description, paste it in GPT, say, hey, what are the keywords from this from this job description that I can add into my resume? And it'll give you those keywords. So the more keywords you have in your resume, the more that those systems are going to pick it up once you apply to that job. So there's a thing called an applicant tracking system that is specifically catered towards running these comparisons against your resume and the job description. So every time you apply to a job, the applicant tracking system is going to look and create a percentage match on how well you fit this job or not. So if you're competing with somebody else and you think you're super qualified, but you're not using any keywords, you literally won't even get seen by a human being. So you really have to be specific on adding in those keywords to have the applicant tracking system push your resume to that specific person. Another thing you can do is reach out to the hiring manager after you apply. So try your best to apply directly on the company website instead of just LinkedIn. There's lots of ghost jobs on LinkedIn and old postings and things like that. So apply on the website and then immediately go on LinkedIn and follow up with those people if you can. Look for hiring manager, look for HR, look for talent acquisition. Send them a message. Say, hey, so-and-so, I just recently applied for this role. Just checking in, seeing if the position is still available. Happy to send over any materials if possible. I recently applied. Would love to hear back from you soon. Something super short, simple, punchy. You're not always going to hear back, but it's so much better than just doing nothing. Just clicking send, the quick apply. It's so much more effective. Another piece of advice is to send a cover letter that's custom based on the values of the company. So the resume is showing, can you do the job? Can you execute the functions that are required to do this job? The cover letter is much more based on your values, your culture fit. Are you going to play nice with the people in the sandbox here, so to speak? Are you going to be cool and interesting and fun to work with based on what we got going on here? So perfect example, I applied to, this was like 8-9 years ago. There was a skate company and I'm a diehard skateboarder. It's a huge part of my life. I applied to this skate company in a role that was related to business psychology. And in my cover letter specifically, I talked about my personal values, how I love skateboarding, how it's part of my blood, like who I am as a person. And I added a link to a skate video that I created with some friends of us living the company values. And man, I got a call so fast back from that company. And it was just a testament to, when you really stand out and you do those things that nobody else is doing, and you show them that you're about what they're about, definitely is going to increase your chances. I would say other ways are, especially if you're going to school for psychology, you're literally in the program with other people. So talk to those around you. Maybe someone's got an aunt or an uncle or somebody who they know who works in the field that you're interested in. Maybe they run a sports team and you're interested in sports psychology. Maybe their mom works at a clinical psychology, something or other, blah, 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 blah. Like there's so many opportunities for so many people that really open doors for you. I mean, I could think of a bunch of different examples from friends of them talking to people and making connections one after another that eventually led to something really great. I've gotten jobs because I've talked to different professors or worked through internships to meet other people who are studying psychology, and they had an opening on their team. And because I focused on building the relationship, it actually ended up working out pretty good. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. I would say also network with your professors, talk to your fellow students, join different clubs. There are so many avenues to just get your name out there, get yourself out there, become an expert in your space. I mean, study feverishly and learn your field. I was posting on LinkedIn very early in my career before I even had any sort of credentials, any sort of knowledge on this stuff beyond basic stuff in psychology. But I would find a cool article and I would share it. Even just by posting once a week on LinkedIn, on that specific platform, you're posting so much more than everybody else. In this day and age, I mean, we have the TikToks and the Instagrams and the YouTube shorts and all that. consider making a YouTube channel on something that you're interested in. I love psychology, so naturally it was a fit for me to talk about psychology. This YouTube channel has resulted in some really cool consulting work, some really great relationships and partnerships that I literally never would have gotten if I wasn't sitting here in this room talking to a camera by myself. So there are so many ways to think outside the box, think critically, stand out, really put yourself out there. Again, this video is kind of all over the place when it comes to jobs, college, psychology. I'm in business psych, but not everyone's going to be doing that. A lot of people like clinical, a lot of people want to go the therapy route, counseling, stuff like that. There's so many different routes to go. So we could make 100 videos on this, but I think I'm going to cut it off here. If there are any specific questions you guys have on this stuff, please, 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 please ask in the comments below. I love talking about this. Happy to answer any and all questions. I know there's a lot to cover and people are just confused. It's a really hard thing to dive into, but yeah, I think there's a lot of value to be had by going to college for the right reasons, and you can build an incredibly fulfilling career because of that. I'm a testament to that. It doesn't mean I think everybody should go to college. I think there's tons of people who really shouldn't go to college and that have benefited from not going to college. If you found this video helpful, any support is greatly appreciated. I want to give a special thanks to our biggest channel supporters, Aaron Freneck, Erica, Carolina, Sunny Sue, and Tony Martinez. I seriously can't overstate how grateful I am for you guys and all the support you've provided to this community. Thank you so much. Remember to take care of yourselves. Remember to take care of those around you. For all things psychology to help you think, feel, and perform better, stay tuned right here on Psychology of Living.